All right, welcome to Real to Real Outdoors. Captain Adam here with Captain Jeremy and our friend Captain Tyler, who we've been trying to get on the show forever and finally
made it work.
Finally got it.
In the snowstorm, we made it work.
We picked a nice hot summer day
we
to do it.
It was 2 degrees on my way down here. It was beautiful.
Yep.
Whiteout conditions.
Whiteouts.
No school. Lots of school.
We made it. We made it. All right. We got a Captain Roundtable for you. So I know I haven't been doing a ton of them, and we're going to do a whole session of these. So thank you to Tyler for. We've been trying to make this happen for a bit.
Yeah, like a year, 2 years.
We tried to get him on the boat to fish and shoot some video this year. And we're gonna next year we'll do better. We always say this every year.
We'll do our best.
Yeah.
Well, this year though, I think we have changed. We've kind of made an announcement that we've changed our focus a little bit.
Yeah.
So this summer is going to be about content creation more so than really keying in on tournament fishing all summer. So hopefully we can get some more meaningful content.
Yeah.
Maybe some goofy content.
We let the cat out of the bag that we're going to make a trip across the lake. And
Thank you though for all the people that have reached out to help us and threaten my life mentioning that word on the internet. I'm a little afraid. Like, I don't think we should actually go in.
I mean, we're actually not. It's like this place that rhymes. It's like Marifort.
Marifort.
We're going to go check out Marifort.
Yeah, it's in Wisconsin.
I love it.
Anyways, if you enjoy the roundtables and enjoy the real stuff, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. You'll be reminded every time we make one of these fantabulous videos. They're amazing.
They are great.
And today, we have a very great topic.
We do.
And I think we have a lot of experience between the three of us on this topic.
Quite a bit.
That is mistakes not to do when you're salmon fishing. So, what's like 10 good ones or however many it ends up being?
I would say one of my favorites is going the wrong direction. Obviously, the ability to fish every day for a living, you see a lot. And I think a lot of times we go the wrong way when we're trolling. If you learn to read your rods, if you're going against the current, your rods are going to dig and you're in the money zone. If you're going with it, your divers will lift up and then you can't get a bite unless you're going 6 miles an hour. And you think to yourself, well, something doesn't seem right. Mm-hmm. So just spin it around, go against it.
So something that we talk about a lot in that scenario, so if I show up and I'm not sure which way the current's flowing, we used to have this tool. There used to be a map. We used to have this surface current tool, which was awesome. Because I knew which way I was going to set before I even got there. Right? We don't have that. They took it down, unfortunately, but that was a huge tool because, and I knew that I was the only person using it a lot of days because guys would run to where the fish is and everyone would stop short. And I would run to the opposite end of the troll and set up and go the other direction. And I'm like, they didn't check the map. They're all going the wrong way because they wanted to start fishing sooner. But you can run an extra 2 miles up, flip around and be on a better troll with a 2 mile further run. Mm-hmm. Like that's a huge deal. But when I set up on that, so like let's say I'm not sure and I don't know and I'm not able to read the waters. Let's say it's dark. If I show up and I'm marking fish and it looks really good and we're trolling and everything's set and we're not getting bit, I'll flip it around right then and there. Like if something's wrong, and that's an easy change. It's just sometimes you don't even have to necessarily turn a 180, but a lot of times it's your troll.
It's your troll.
You're just on the wrong troll.
Yep. Speed and direction.
So the first thing I might do is vary my speed.
Yep.
Still not getting bit. I'm going to change my troll right there. So I have confidence in the baits. I have confidence in everything else that we're doing, and if we're not producing, it's one of those things. Yep. It's something you can change.
Yep. I mean, confidence is everything, and a lot of things that we do. So
I will say though, like where I'm at, it's very, very congested and it's very, very busy.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, generally the current's always pretty similar. In Ludington, it's following the contour, so you're either going up up north on the contour or south on the contour. It's not really drastic, but the guys that run, north of 300 boats and then turn around right at the north end of them and go south, like you're asking just for an absolutely miserable experience.
You're gonna have a hard time.
Even if you're getting bit because you feel that troll's better, you gotta weave through 300 boats.
You gotta kind of work with everyone there.
You kind of have to, it's not always an option.
No.
Now, in Saugatuck, there's like 3 boats out.
Yeah.
every
Well,
day.
the difference
It's
is
not
too-
that
It's
busy,
not, it's
you know?
not, not
It's
as busy, right?
You know, so I mean, I learned to fish in the Southern Basin where Tyler spends most of his time, and just happens to be the boat that you're on. Those guys, the best chance historically, as far as fishing in the Southern Basin and straight line trolling, fishing where there isn't structure.
Yep.
I mean, historically, Bill and Dave have been the best of the best for sure.
They're incredible.
And over time, obviously, they've just continued, and now you're on the boat, so you get to see it. But that's how I learned. That's there were guys like them, like Willis Carriage, Brian Butts, some of the guys in Grand Haven also really, really good at
On a good troll right off
straight
the
line
bat.
trolling, finding the right troll, finding that right speed and direction. And those are the guys that I learned from.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very different approach than say fishing on the points or on structure. Sure. So you have to take a different. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't necessarernally go against the grain up on one of the points. You're not going to make any friends doing that.
Your water's moving
as we've
so
seen,
much.
when we've tournament fish, sometimes people get grumpy about it.
Yeah.
It's
They get
part of the
really,
deal.
they get really crabby.
yeah, we've had a few.
Start saying words and stuff.
People should just be. That's a mistake too. I think. And I'm guilty of it too. But there's no reason to cuss and swear and scream and be belligerent to another boat. There's just it accomplishes nothing.
Nope.
Everybody's got to give a little bit. You're going to see things. It's frustrating,
Yep.
but you got to turn it down. You don't know who's on that boat, especially in the dark. It could be
Kids and-
a bunch of kids. It's their first experience, a
Right.
family.
And I think nowadays
A bunch
with
of
the
supermodels looking for a fisherman.
Yeah.
And then you
screwed
do
up,
that.
you screwed your chances
Yeah.
all
Done.
up. So,
Man.
but I mean, I think with a cell phone, it's not worth it. Now everyone's videoing.
Right,
or
yeah.
somebody's. It's not. I don't know.
No.
I think it's not worth going to jail for. That's
No.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But what other? I think definitely a mistake is not adjusting fast enough, not maybe knowing where that thermocline is. Sometimes I think in the morning, if you put everything at 60 feet down, and it's not at 60 feet down,
They're
sometimes
probably
it's
not
better
at-
to
yeah.
stagger, 40 feet, fish 40 feet of water column, and then make a quick adjustment.
Yeah, I think one of the things for your first set of the morning is, and one thing that we've learned over time is, you don't have to get all your rods out in the first 5 minutes. Like sometimes keeping it simple, especially in the dark, just keep it easy on the first set. The worst thing you can do is cause a big tangle or have a problem that's going to take you out of commission for 20 minutes and you miss
Right.
the whole first bite.
Or 2 or 3 rods are tangled,
Yeah,
and now
so
they're
like
not fishing.
keeping it, I think that's one thing that I see, even us, I mean, we still it's a mindset, but just keeping it simple right away. Like, don't necessarily feel like you need to get up there and hit a home run.
Yep.
If you set down, set a few rods and catch a couple of fish, especially if you're tournament fishing, that really helps you at noon when you need that 1 or 2 more fish that you
Yeah.
didn't catch.
You don't need 4 or 5.
Right,
Now
just-
yeah.
So, I mean, just keeping it simple.
I always set the divers first.
Absolutely.
Because that'll tell you everything you need to know.
For sure.
You
And
set
they're
one,
fast.
hey, you set the starboard, and it's all the way in the port. We're like, whoa,
Yeah.
hey, and they're quick. They're easy to get out.
Yeah.
Go to the out downs. If you're on your chute, put your chute out, and then go to your boards.
Yeah, I agree.
So we actually set our, we'll set 2 boards. We'll start 2 boards. And then, and this is in the dark, during the day, I don't do it the same way, but I'll set 2 boards and I start a divers going out slow on the clicker, on the drag. And then I set all my boards first because if I set a rigger and that rigger goes off, I can't set boards.
This is true.
And I run 8 boards in the dark, 4 on each side. And I want those in before I get bit. Like my goal
We've all
first thing
had
in the
it.
morning when I'm setting up, my goal is to not get bit.
Yeah.
But it's a little different tournament fishing because it's an hour later.
Right.
Yeah.
The bite's going on.
Yeah, you set down on the morning bite, or
Yeah.
the tail end of it a lot of
Tail
times.
end
Or we
of it.
might even
Right.
miss it altogether depending on which tournament we're fishing, because a lot of them you're starting like an hour after the morning bite just happened.
Yeah.
Depending on the time change, especially in the southern basin down there.
Yep.
And that's
Yeah,
something that
definitely.
Mike and I have, that was something we always did. is we always set our boards first.
I think that's a really good point.
And get 'em out.
Not setting your outdowns in the dark if you're fishing around structure or something like
Especially where there's fish.
where you know the fish are there. Get your boards out so that they're out of your way. I never really thought about that.
And if they're biting boards right away, you're gonna have a good day.
Oh yeah, it's gonna
Like
be fun.
game on.
Yeah, because they'll still and you can fight. You can have a triple going on boards, and you can set divers
you can set
and
your
riggers.
outdowns,
You know, you can set stuff while you're. You know, I'll have to make a video of like the interesting things. I mean, there's a lot of tips in the tips and tricks of setting. You know, pulling a paddle back and setting it on your finger, and then
letting it go
so that
it doesn't get into it.
Doesn't get into something that you're fighting. But I think that's you know, there's lots of different ways. That, for sure. That's interesting to hear some different ideas.
That is, yeah.
So.
I have not heard that before.
How about other mistakes like, you know, trusting your electronics?
Yeah.
I think that's a thing. You know, if you're not getting bit and you're not marking fish, and you are, and you're still going the same, you're not turning around. You know, I mean, sometimes you can't turn around, but like if you go through a pot of fish, you hit 3 or 4 fish, you have 5 bites or something in an hour, and then it stops. But you're not paying attention to why it stops. You know, is the water look different? Is the temperature different? Is the thermocline gone up or down? Has the speed changed? Even though the boat itself, you know, the same RPMs, now use different speeds, so you know your current changed, something like that.
Everything changes when the sun comes up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the rotation of the earth. Like in the summertime, that's why we do the same thing a lot every day, because it's the same stable, you know, with what's going on.
Yeah.
I was going to make a point on that. I think a mistake that I see people make is chasing other people's programs, other people's fish. So I think it's good to talk to people and get a starting point.
Yeah.
But once you do that, you need to fish your program.
You gotta fish your program.
Don't fish someone else's program that you're not familiar with and then wonder why it's not working for you, right?
100%.
So like, you know, find out, you know, if you have some charter boat contacts or if you want to use the internet or whatever you're going to use to figure out like where's the bite happening. Say it's in, you know, it's happening out of South Haven and it starts in 90 to 200. That's where the fish have been. So 90's maybe starting a little bit before 90, maybe 80 foot to start and put it out of the southwest or northwest, whatever direction you're going to go. And realizing that your best shot is going to be somewhere in that range, but still fish your program.
Yeah.
Like, you know, don't get all the baits that people are running and put them down exactly like the report said and think it's going to work. It doesn't work that way.
No.
You know, you have to fish your stuff.
I could go out in the morning and catch 20 fish quick, and go out that evening and catch 20 fish quick. And the next morning when I go there, and say all of my bites were 200 copper, 250 copper, 300 copper. When I go in the next morning, I'm still staggering my baits.
You have to.
Absolutely.
You know, because I gotta let the fish tell me what they want.
Yeah.
We call it keeping them honest.
Yeah,
Keep them honest. So, you know, if the same thing, if they're biting, if you're getting primarily rotator bites, you probably ought to just mix a set of spoons in there somewhere. Yeah. Or if they're biting meat, you probably better have spinnies and flies. You better have some plugs. I mean, whatever that looks like. Yeah. Keep that spread variable because it can change in overnight.
Changes.
It can change overnight, and it could be totally a different bite the next day.
Kings are the notorious for here today, gone tomorrow.
For sure.
You know,
and that's another. You know, that's another thing too, though. Like with a mistake that people make is not taking notes.
You're right.
And not paying attention to the details. Okay, you know, yesterday was overcast, and we were catching them on these darker baits. And today it's high sun.
Sunny and no
Are you going to
wind.
run exactly the same baits? Are you going to run the same part of the water column?
I'm probably going to start with the same ones.
Yeah.
And I'll adjust from there. You know,
Yeah,
that's what I have confidence in.
For sure. But I would still mix, like in that scenario, like I would mix a confidence bait that's different,
Yeah.
you know, in there, somewhere in the spread. Like I might go 75% yesterday's spread and 25% the confidence baits I have that normally work under this condition.
Yeah.
Well, that's like
that.
the A team, the B team, the C team. You start with the A team and it doesn't work. Well, did it work? Did it not work because the fish didn't want to eat it, or were you just not on fish?
Yeah.
And then you pull that A team, you put out the B team, and now you're on fish, but you're transitioning into the C team when if you put A back out, you know, that's going to light them up. But that's confidence based.
I'm going to say something that I don't know if I'm supposed to talk
back.
about on camera, but I'm going to say it anyways. What we found, and I think you can attest to this, is if your A program is working inside and the bite stops, and the idea is that you're going to roll off and fish them in deeper water, what program do you go back to? They're going to bite those A baits again outside.
Yeah,
You don't need to
probably not different.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel there. You just go back and fish your same program outside.
You just got to keep it simple.
And even in the, you know, everything's different when the water's like piss warm. that changes things. That throws everything out the window. But when you're fishing cold water, and you start hitting fish on a 5-color, and then you go out deeper, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna fish these fish deeper. You better still have that 5-color out.
Yeah.
That
Or you
thing's gonna work.
better put another one out.
Yeah, it'll work all day. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're active up high for some reason,
Fish them up high.
leave them up high.
I think a big mistake is overthinking and panicking.
Yep.
I'm sure you guys have seen the videos with like the salmon showdown. My boss, and there's a video of him like freaking out. We don't do that. I mean, every tournament, every charter, never panic ever, because when you panic, you make wrong decisions. You do things too fast. I mean, that is like the number one thing. Like when the bite slows down, I'm gonna eat lunch. Like you guys were saying like, okay, we caught him here this morning. Now we're out of them. Doesn't mean they left the depth.
No.
There's just different groups of them. Which
Well,
is like you said, like the straight line trolling. I mean, why we don't turn.
I do believe that these fish bite every 4 to 5 hours they feed.
Yeah.
And if you catch them and they shut off, I mean, you can still pick at them.
Right.
But, 4 to 5 hours
And you'll see us do it all
after
the
it
time.
started,
If-
we're going to go right back where we were.
If you guys see us running, that's usually what's going on. Like if we had a good morning bite, we caught fish,
We're going
and
back
then
to the starting point.
it dried up, and we've worked it over, and we're not getting enough bites per hour to keep us there. Especially in a 9 and 3 format, or a format where we have to do
have to
something
get some
different.
trout, yeah.
We'll pull and run and go fish our trout, and then as soon as we're done with our trout, we're going to come right back and start all over again.
I love-
But that being said, if we're catching fish in piss warm water in the morning, I don't know that I'd necessarily go back into the piss warm water, because
Correct.
I think the fish will move out of there, and I don't
Correct.
think they'll go back in.
Yeah.
But if you have cold water and you have fish, it's amazing when you come back in there at 11 o'clock and your craft lights up.
Let me ask you a question, because I mean, instead of just saying, I'm going to lead you. So let's say you do go back into that warm water at 11 o'clock in the morning. Where do you think they're most likely going to be?
Up high.
In the warm water? If they're still in there, probably.
Either that or they're laying
or-
on the
or laying on the
I agree
bottom.
with you totally. So
Yeah.
one of two things. They're either going to be up high out of temp, feeding
Yeah.
again, or they're laying right on the deck.
Yeah.
You catch those fish and their bellies are all beat up because they're
Yeah.
laying on the bottom.
Yeah,
So
that's true. They
we
have that
see that.
red, yeah.
That's where you get like
We see it all the time.
a paddle fly,
the time.
right on the deck
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock in the morning. That is definitely a lethal, or a meat rig, a big rotator meat rig, something like that, right on the deck. Like
I really like that when the thermal's right there, though. Like
Yeah.
when
Well,
there's
it's kind
cold
of-
water
so
on the
water
bottom.
has to be
and then-
cold for it to be there.
Laying.
Like it's not going to be if it's piss warm top to bottom, they're not going to
Not
be
gonna
in.
be in
They're not going to be in
Yeah.
there laying on
No,
bottom.
I totally agree.
But if there is cold water in there, it's usually going to be right on in that bottom 5 feet, and you catch them, and when you bring them up, they're ice cold
They're ice.
Yeah.
because they're just sitting in that cold water being lazy. And you put a bait in front of them, they'll eat it.
They'll eat it.
The active fish, I agree, are going to be up
They're
high.
gonna be up high.
That's where your divers let way back with meat rigs or spinnies and flies. Like, I'm talking 300 plus back on your high divers, like 11 o'clock in the morning.
In 100 foot.
Correct. Yeah, you're way back there.
We did that in 2014 when I was still fishing on my dad's boat. We won the Holland, the AM division, and we found them at noon. I just basically free spooled the diver. It hit bottom like a trout fish, and it just, I'm like, well, that's weird. Do the other one. Other one, big kings. I'm like, found something here.
That's cool.
And we picked away at them for 2 days, and they were literally laying on the bottom.
Yeah, that's what
We were 94 foot, and we ran 2 450s, and our divers on bottom. That's how we caught them.
And there's some boats up north that have become really, really good at that. And
Yeah.
I won't mention any names, but they have figured out how to catch those fish that are, that are laying or are tight to bottom.
And a lot of
holding
times you
to
can't even
bottom.
see them
Yeah.
on your electronics.
Yeah.
So different than like walleyes hugging bottom.
Yeah.
You're not gonna mark them.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe nowadays with the better stuff we
Yeah.
have, but back
Yeah.
then you didn't know they were there.
I think we're pretty blessed with the electronics that we have nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah, the two, big,
That's-
heavy, high watt transducers are helpful.
That's
Our
very
bottom
amazing.
separation is different than it used to be
Yeah.
for sure.
And you see them down there, you're like, a lot of them are trout down there. I don't want trout.
No, I used to always say that.
That's false.
Yeah. Well, we used to always, when we go out to deep, the nice thing in Ludington is if you do a turn, you're going to turn 180 degrees. During that turn, you're going to end up in a couple hundred feet of water.
Right.
Even though you started at 90, because it's so steep.
Yeah.
But, we go out to that 400 feet, 300 feet, and we'd see these fish down deep, and those are trout. It's embedded in my mind. Those are trout, and they're almost all kings.
Yep.
It's pretty amazing, especially if they're suspended a little bit. Now, if suspended in the thermocline, like right in the cold of the thermocline, a lot of times those are trout.
That's a trout.
But it's like that usually about 180 foot down. They're kind of there. Those big heavy arcs.
Big heavy ones,
Usually big trout.
Big trout.
Yeah, for sure.
What about what else? I mean, I think another mistake. I think another mistake is that you're going to go fishing on Saturday. You're at work. You're working during the week. At least Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to pay attention to the weather.
For sure.
I'm going to pay attention to the wind.
Wind.
I'm going to pay attention to any information I can get, be it a fishing buoy somewhere that's going to give me a thermocline. Even if, say, I'm going to fish. I don't know where there's buoys and where there's not, but let's say I'm going to fish in Grand Haven. There isn't a buoy, but there's one in Port Sheldon. I'm going to watch that buoy in Port Sheldon. I'm going to watch a buoy in Muskegon because it's not going to be drastically different. But if you get a strong offshore wind,
might be a lot different.
or onshore wind, it's going to change.
The amount of days where we go out and it's fire for a week, and also we get north blow, and you're like, well, back to square one.
Yeah, starting over.
Don't panic. Just go fishing.
Yeah, that's something that like I never wanted to fish cold water, like ice cold water. I never wanted to fish it, and the last couple of years I fished it, and I have figured out how to catch some fish in it. And if they're there, but they have to be there, and the bait has to be there. Bait doesn't generally like that.
Kings like to eat. They're going to be where the bait is.
And they'll be in an uncomfortable situation if the bait's there.
Of course.
But probably not all day. You're going to see it first thing in the morning. And
time of year, too.
Time of
July
the year,
and August.
it all makes a big difference.
72 degrees, 30 feet down, well, they're probably still there.
Yeah, late in August and they're getting ready.
They do not care.
They don't care.
No, they don't.
And that's why they aren't silver anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of gross, smell weird.
Brown.
Boots.
That's what river guys call them.
What are some things that, let's say you invite your buddies over, or say people that like been fishing before, they know what they're doing, but they don't really put a lot of effort. They're not really big into it, but they're there, they're along for it. What are things that people do that kind of drive you crazy on the boat?
Wow.
So I will say that this one is like, it just makes me want to pound my head into the table. When people get on the boat and they haven't fished in weeks, and you've been fishing every day, and they are just like critical of your bait selections and want to pick these baits, and I'm like,
back in 1996.
it's when you jump on somebody else's boat, you're a guest on their boat,
Right.
And even if you're paying to be on the boat, you're a guest on their boat, and it's great to have ideas, but man, these guys have been doing it every day. Like, don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Like, don't jump on somebody's boat and try and.
I guess it depends on the person that it is, right? Because if like a younger kid comes on boat, he's gonna have all the questions in the world.
Yeah.
An older gentleman, a respectful older guy is like, hey, we used to fish back in the day, and you're like, well, tell me about it, because things are different now. But you get a guy like my age that's like, yeah, we do this. You're like, okay, like just save it,
Yeah.
What do you got?
But
this is why we do this.
Try to complement the program that's happening.
For sure.
Don't try to reinvent the program. Try to complement the program.
Right. You don't want to overcomplicate.
I have a couple of weird pet peeves. One, spray sunscreen.
Oh,
yeah.
That is like as soon as I see somebody break up the spray sunscreen, I'm like,
I don't even wear it.
who invited this person?
I just had one removed like 2 days ago, here.
I'm an advocate for wearing sunscreen, obviously, but and personally, like if I wear sunscreen, as soon as I put the sunscreen on, I go down with Dawn dish soap and wash my hands every single time.
For sure.
Because God only knows what that's doing to the baits that you're touching, to the reel handles. I mean, if the Shimano reel handles melt from sunscreen.
Yeah.
But the spray sunscreen is on everything on the boat, and it's like in your isinglass, and it's all. I mean, it's just like, yeah. So that's one for me. The other thing is a little bit. It's kind of similar but different. Smoked fish is another one for me.
Any smoked beef jerky, smoked fish, like oh no,
Can we
cheese
not?
puffs. I look in the I always when people bring bags, I'm like, okay, what's in here? Like, what do I gotta look out for?
Yeah, I know,
They
right?
come out, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, like smoked fish, I'm weird about that too. Like it just
Well, you
it's
don't
sort
like
of-
to eat fish on the boat.
I don't like fish on the boat, but I mean I tolerate it, but I'm like it's just so oily and like it just leaves this residue on everything.
Oh,
And so I'm always
terrible.
like
terrible.
always like, people are
you should
like-
try this.
people are like, I'm so excited, I brought you some smoked fish, and I'm always like, thanks.
Yeah, I'll
Really
try
nice of
it
you.
with the cracker that's 12 inches long. No,
Yeah.
that is beef jerky, sunscreen, smoked fish, anything smoked.
Yeah, it's like anything if your hands
Strong,
are
yeah.
just touching everything, like and you know what, maybe it doesn't make a bit of difference, but in my mind, it's on everything. And on my mind, I'm like,
If you have like a jerky store or a meat specialty store in your area, and they have the best of something, you should bring that.
yeah.
Yeah, because I want to try it.
Right.
But I won't eat it until someone else is eating it, and I've waited a half an hour.
Yeah.
Because I've had too many bad experiences.
man.
Hey, my brother Jimmy, he makes this stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, let me try that.
Break it
We
too.
got a problem. Yeah. There's not a lot of, breaks.
Right.
Taking a nice break.
You're not wrong.
And use the 30-minute rule.
Yep.
If no one's died in 30 minutes or had any kind of unexpected bowel movement,
I'll try it.
yeah, try it.
I'll try it. Oh man.
Glass bottles, that's one.
Yeah.
That's always your buddies too.
Yeah.
Like charter customers never bring glass bottles on the boat. My buddies, complete idiots.
Yeah.
I love them all.
I would say another big pet peeve would be wearing your muck boots that you just mowed the grass in the night before, or your work boots with covered in mud.
Or you
I
just
mean, like we're fortunate to have a floor in our boat. I mean, you guys have it, you have it, we have it, and there's nothing better than a guy that comes on with his muck boots and there's grass everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere.
yeah, or don't
And a lot of people don't know, which is okay.
people cut across,
I get it.
Cut across the
Yeah,
don't
through
walk
the
on
dirt.
sidewalk, and they cut
You know,
across and they get
right.
on the boat and there's dirt everywhere.
Yeah, and a lot of times they don't know, so we're always like, "Hey, come here, let me spray your boot off."
your boot
And
off.
they're like, "What do you mean?" Like, we just don't want it on the floor. Just got to handle it the right way.
Yeah, but I think like getting back to like maybe more amateur small guys, weekend guys, you got all week to be prepared.
Yeah.
So, and I have a buddy Alex, and he fishes with me, but he always is. He's calling me a couple times if he's gonna fish that weekend, and then he like literally lays out everything. He makes a plan. He has like a pretty good idea of what he's gonna start with and how he's gonna do it, and he has his
He's prepared.
confidence baits mixed in with the things that have been working for me, or like George Freeman on the freestyle. He does a great fishing report. He's always putting out
Yep.
his program, and he's mixing it up, and it's kind of like it's pretty cool. I'm kind of like I get on the boat and I just look at stuff and I'm like, I'm gonna try this.
Yeah, let me try this.
That's it. But kind of more the way I go. But I have 12 baits that I run.
Right.
Those are my 12 baits.
Yep.
They're
Yep.
always gonna go in the water.
Yeah, if it goes, I'm gonna keep it out. If it doesn't go for a day, probably try it again. Then if it doesn't go in the first hour, okay, time to change.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. Well, I hope you got some good info out of these. If you have any do not do's that you'd like to add to the list, put them in the comments. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button, like the channel. That helps us. If you want some awesome merch, we have a bunch of good merch now. So that's available at Captain Chuck's right here. And you can get some real merch. That helps support us as well, and helps us buy more things and
Yeah, we all need more stuff.
more equipment.
Yeah.
You guys need more tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely need more tackle.
Definitely.
There's so many times where somebody goes, "Hey, I'm catching them on this," and I go, oh, "I don't have that."
You don't have enough tackle.
It's actually quite surprising when it does happen.
Yeah, I make one phone call.
I think I have that.
Now I have 10. And a bill to go with it.
We used to call it. You go to Captain Chuck's, and you got a hot bait, and you'd buy all of them, but we call it pegging. You peg them. Well, you can't use that
No, that's
anymore.
not
because, there's other
It is
things
2025.
now. I didn't know that was going to come about. For a good decade, it was called that.
Yeah, it was good.
Now it's called buying them all.
Yeah.
I
Very good.
don't want to
Very good.
have a mixed message.
No mix.
Hope that doesn't like set off some kind of analytics and we
It
get
might.
canceled for 10 days or
Yeah,
something.
they'll ban us like they banned TikTok for a day.
If we talked about like, you know, some kind of, you know, boom boom stick right now, that probably would get us.
Yeah,
But we can always go back to TikTok because it's back.
it's back.
Yeah.
It's back.
12 hours.
I don't have it, but it's back. I
Yeah,
guess.
we don't have it either. So
No, we like to watch reel-to-reel videos instead of TikTok.
I have real TikTok.
Just
It's there.
you do have it now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like 14 videos on there
Nice.
that I backed up the other day. I got shut down. But I'm releasing them all on YouTube, so you can see them on YouTube.
perfect.
I don't know if I'll go back to TikTok. We'll see. We should have one of those polls. People can vote. Should we go back to TikTok? Should we not go back to TikTok?
Instagram.
Instagram?
Yes
Where's
or
that?
no.
The young folk.
The young folk, yeah. The young pups like me. I'll vote yes.
Oh, the rest of us boomers are still using Facebook.
Oh,
Yep.
FB, man. I mean,
We're old.
Whatever happened to MySpace?
Ooh, close.
I like MySpace. Is this still there?
No.
I'm gonna make a post. I'm gonna go try it.
I probably still know my login.
I don't think it's there.
Hopefully it's saved in my Google.
Click your profile and all the good tunes come up. I love it.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Enjoy your winter, unfortunately, but looks like we'll be back out there and killing kings very soon.
Can't wait.
All right.